Welcome to Triple Threat, the podcast with Jermel President, where it's good news and good vibes all the time, baby.
When we left Portugal to come play with you in your system, Jermel, it was the best thing for Shane because you pushed him to do other things outside his box.
You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Jermel President and on Twitter at President Jermel. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast as I'll be bringing you a new interview every month. Hey, what's up, guys? Coming up next, we got Baptiste Staggers. We call him Big Bap. Baptiste played in my travel ball program back in middle school, a little bit through high school, and was very, very much a leader at an early age. And you can tell from the interview and the conversation how he speaks and his focus that he was a young old kid per se. All right, he was always on time. He's one of the leaders of the team, and he did things the right way all the time. In our conversation, we talked about the transition from middle school to high school, college, and the professional life, and how he used sports and the rec and travel in high school and college to prepare for a successful professional life. In addition to that, having a great support system with his parents, Donnie and Shaka. So let's get into the interview and hear what Bap is talking about. All right, we get started, man. I appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you reaching out.
For sure. One of the things we try to do with our podcast is like educate the upcoming student athletes. Talking to former student athletes, people that did it before, on just the trials and tribulations from the transition from middle school, high school, college, and the professional life. So I think you guys' stories play a huge part into educating families and student athletes that's coming up.
Okay, for sure.
So before we get started, as we get started, we like to take the audience through a little memory lane. So if you don't mind, take us back to the Parks and Rivals area, North Charleston Parks and Recreation, where it first started. Talk to us about that.
So it first started for me. I remember. I think my first sport was actually football. I played for the Union Heights Raiders. If people know where that's at, that's off of Ackerville or whatnot.
Right.
And just growing up, just getting that was my first love of the game, was playing football. As time grew, I ended up going to basketball. Played at Danny Jones.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I started playing for I forgot the little league team I was playing for, but I was just playing for the Danny Jones Recreational Center.
Right.
And just growing up, we eventually, it started to venture off to travel basketball. So I played for the North Charleston All-Stars. I think we was with them for either like 3 to 4 years.
Right.
And then after that, of course, that's when we met you, and then started training, and it went up from there.
All right, we'll get into that in a second, but like every little kid coming up, whether it's a coach or dad or some sort, we all need that type of support. What was your support system in coming through the ranks of the rec department, and who was kind of your guy to help you through all those things?
My support system was pretty big. It was mostly my family, which is my mom, my parents, my mom and dad, and my grandparents. They kind of supported me in every aspect of the game, whether it's taking me to different games or providing me with the equipment or just being there, 24/7. So, they really helped me just not with stuff on the field, but off the field as well. Just like how I'm supposed to just handle my business as a young adult. And I'm thankful, that I had them in my life and whatnot. And they really helped me out, and they still help me to this day. So
For
I have a
sure.
great support system, man.
For sure. And you know, when kids growing up, self-esteem is huge. That
Yeah.
support system that you have, how did it make you feel as a little kid? Because you got to think some kids don't have the support system we had
Yeah.
or have. So when they go into games, they got nobody to look into the stands when they scoring that basket or
Yeah.
making that tackle, right? They ain't
Yeah.
got nobody to buy them the shoes and the equipment that they need. So how crucial was that support system for you, and how did it make you feel as a young kid coming up?
Um, like I said, it was a big part of especially my self-esteem because, some games you don't do well, or some games, it goes the other way. But for them to always be there and have your back, like, yo, just take it out the next game, or you got to practice a little bit more. So they were there to push me not only physically but mentally as well. And like I said, I can understand from the standpoint of people who don't have that support system,
Mm-hmm.
how it can be of like a challenge to, overcome whatever they may be going through. But like I said earlier, I've just been blessed by God just to have a strong support system to be there for me in every aspect. So,
For sure.
yeah.
For sure. So yeah, we'll transition into a little bit of the middle school and the high school situation, and I don't know if you noticed, but we as parents, we
Uh-huh.
all got 4 or 5 different kids. We all got a favorite, right? As coaches,
Yeah,
we all got thousands of players we see, but we all got favorites, right? And
of course.
you were all one of my favorites because of the way you carry yourself. You and Rashad was team captains when we were playing because
Yeah.
you always on time. You helped, get the team together. Like you wanted to win and you was there for a purpose. When people were kind of goofing off, like you always were serious. I never really see you laugh and play, but you're always about your business. That's very important. What were some of the things that made you, be that constant, that focus at such a young age?
A lot of that stems from me being the oldest.
Mm,
Um, now I got, 3 siblings. At that time, I only had two. It's just my brothers. And then my mom basically told me like when you're the oldest, you kind of like a third parent. So
mm,
I had a lot of responsibility to take care of when I was a kid. Not saying I, had to watch over my brothers or whatnot, but I was there for the support. And just being the oldest, you kind of grow up quicker than
sure.
quicker than others. And again, just watching my pops too, just the way he handled business and how serious he was. I'd never seen him work for anybody. He's always been an entrepreneur. So having that support and just seeing the way he grew from being at one barbershop and eventually owning his own construction business kind of help me in a way of my development.
That's crucial. That's crucial. So let's go back to the DAE Foundation travel team days where, our regimen we try to do is try to focus on that collegiate regimen, right? Where
Yeah.
we practice tired, right? You guys had to run what 4 or 5 laps before practice.
Yeah.
Game times we had a trainer there. We had pregame meal. We was trying to adapt that same focus like where you would see in college. And now that you've been through the whole ranks of college, and we'll get back to that, tell the audience if the DAE Foundation regimen and training was beneficial to you moving into college and professional situations. What were
Yeah.
some things you took away from that
Yeah.
that was kind of beneficial for you?
Yeah. It was definitely beneficial. I appreciate you and the way you had your organization set up because you were once a college athlete yourself, and it kind of helped prepare us for what to expect from the college level. Like just the mental, I guess, approach to the game kind of helped that a lot. Again, I know you mentioned about us just running around before practice, doing laps, then shooting free throws. I remember one thing, like you had us shoot free throws when we're tired.
Right.
That kind of simulates game time situation because you're not going to shoot free throws when you're fresh.
Right.
Most of the time, it's when you're tired and it's in the crucial moments. Um, I guess also the aspect. I remember this one summer. I can't remember exactly like what was going on. I think we had like a camp or whatnot, but you had us actually take like a class for like to develop apps or whatnot. I can't remember exactly what
At the
year it
college
was,
at the
but like
college of Charleston.
yeah, and I think that was something we would have took if we would have known the power of social media,
Mm.
and the way and direction it is now, and we would have took that class actually more serious than what it was. It could have, helped us a lot. But just like everything you did for us, and just preparing us for the games and practice and everything kind of helped shape us.
Yeah, yeah. I forgot about that class.
Yeah,
That was very important. And you
yeah,
guys, yeah, you guys got me. You guys got me in a lot of trouble from that class. But it was all good. And I don't know if you noticed either, Bap. I think it was your senior year when I started working with Fort Dorchester.
yeah,
And I took that position mainly because of you. I wanted to really see
yeah,
you out. I wanted to really, and that was my commitment to my athletes. And I think you were one of the one that stick all the way through the course. You know what I mean? You got some athletes, some players that think the grass is greener on the other side, so they jump ship and find out it's worse than what
yeah,
what they was where they were. And the thing is, some kids, some families, and you can't, knock them for that, but may go to a situation where they don't have to pay a fee, right?
yeah,
So not necessarily understanding what they're learning, what they're getting, they're giving up a fee for not really getting the knowledge they need to be a student athlete. And I thank you for sticking through the course. That's why I came to Fort Dorchester, just to see your way out the last year. And I thought that was important,
yeah. I appreciate it. I remember you coming as assistant coach, man, and it kind of helped out a lot too with just the mental, focus, and you just prep talking to me before the games and just make sure I'm right mentally and everything. So
For sure.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
No problem.
That senior season was my best year too. So
Exactly.
yeah,
So let's talk about that. You say basketball was your best year, but you went to college for football, right?
yeah,
And you played quarterback at Fort Dorchester, right?
yeah.
Take us back to that time, and how that transition from basketball to football, being a lead here again, you being a leader, running
Yeah.
the team, being vocal, and you wasn't the biggest vocal person ever. I don't think you still
Yeah.
are. You speak through your actions, right?
Yeah.
I see you just probably do something like that, just throw it off. But you never really was a vocal person, and you still were a leader because you had, great leadership in your family, and you knew how to lead. Talk about that transition from basketball to football, and what were some of the benefits from that?
Yeah. I guess the biggest benefits for me just transition from the basketball to football was let me say, what was the question? I'm sorry, you said the biggest transition from basketball to football?
Yeah, what were the benefits?
Yeah.
Like,
The benefit.
being a two-sport person is obviously
Yeah.
different muscles, different focus, different concentration. What allowed
Yeah.
you to go from basketball to football and be effective? I mean, not talking
Uh,
about the physical
yeah.
aspects of it.
Just mentally, just being, just being sharp on all the courts. I know basketball is like a lot of lateral movement, and that kind of helped me out with football, just being able to
Mm,
with my agility, I
mm,
should say. Um, Also, just being a leader on the basketball court and football court, just being a leader, I guess, on all aspects on that as well. That's really it. Kind of correlates hand to hand. Just being an athlete, just in general, just being able to play,
for sure,
different sports. Yeah.
for sure. In this timeout message, we got Chris Evans.
I was a shooter and I really couldn't get by. I could handle it, but not like you. I couldn't get by people.
Right.
I wasn't quick enough. And so that changed the arc of my career there. And I just kept playing. Some of us, Mel, especially, people with slow, weak people like me, we end up coming into our own a little bit by the time we're 22, 23, 24. It's almost after college. And that's kind of when I hit the apex of my talent, I think. And I ended up going over to Ireland and playing 2 seasons in Ireland and putting up 50 some games. So.
Now let's get back to the interview. Let's get into the recruiting situation and tell us how that go. Now, again, there's a lot of families out there that don't really know the process, don't understand the process. Take us back to your story on how'd you end up at Newberry, and who were recruiting you, what kind of situation you had at that time.
Great question. So, like during my senior year, I wasn't, I had some people, like I think it was, I want to say it was Georgia Southern that came out to look at me for football, but they weren't really interested. So after my football season, to be honest, I thought it was like all on basketball. I was like, hey, I didn't really hear from anybody. I'm just going to put all my eggs in one basket and try to do the most out of this basketball season because I wasn't really hearing from anyone. Um, and then I remember out the blue, it was like in January of my last year. I heard from Newberry College, and they were saying they were interested in me, and they were thinking about giving me a scholarship. This was right around the time I was still playing basketball, and I think Francis Marion was talking to my coach as well. But Francis Marion wasn't giving me any offers or whatnot at the time. They just were like, just looking at me. And then Newberry ended up offering me, that scholarship. And I was still trying to play the game, wait it out a little bit. But they're basically like, hey, football signing day is coming soon. You're either going to have to choose if you're going to stay with us or we're going to have to give your scholarship or start looking at someone else.
Right.
And that kind of sped up my process. Like, hey, I didn't really have anything else on the table there. So I remember I had the conversation with you before the Ashley Ridge game. Like, hey, I'm thinking about just going ahead and just taking a scholarship with Newberry. They offered me, a full ride. So I just had to do what was best for me at that time.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And, fate is fate. We can't, turn the clock back or make things happen. But if you would say, if you had this in your corner or this in your situation, do you think it would have been you'd have more offers, more looks, and had you done X, Y, Z? And this is for the audience that are listening.
Yeah. I love playing quarterback. That's still my favorite position. I think if I would have played like a different position, like a defensive end or like a tight end or whatnot, or receiver, I probably would have had more offers because a lot of schools looked at me as as an athlete. They didn't really look at me as a true quarterback, So if I would have played a different position, I possibly would have had more offers. And then on the basketball side, if I would have developed a 3-point shot early on, or you had me doing this on your team, just handling the ball, a little bit more because when I was I was the biggest person possibly in the low country, one of the biggest. So they had me on the block playing center. When you go to the collegiate level, 6'4", 6'5", you playing guard. So exactly. I remember you telling me that early on, and just going back in time, if I would have probably just played the guard position a little bit more, I probably would have had a little bit more offers on the basketball side of things.
For sure. I mean, still things still work out the way they worked out because of your leadership, because of your hard work, and that's the things I try to tell the audience, people all the time. Situation like you, Bap, great athlete, great academic student, right? And you just got by just because of what you possess. But what if you had some more talent? I mean, some more support, some more exposure. You know what I mean? Things would have been a whole lot different. Not saying they aren't the best the way they are now, but speaking to the audience, you have to do more. You have to put yourself into more because everybody's not going to be 6'5", right?
Yeah.
And be able to get through in those situations. Talk about as a freshman, man. When you first got on campus, was that different for you? As far as being at home, you have a curfew, you got a schedule, your parents are there. But in college, there's no one's there. You got to go to school. You got a schedule. How was that different for you? Transition.
I think that's where your discipline comes in. At is just how whatever the values or morals your parents taught you growing up, you got to kind of take that upon yourself on the collegiate level. And with being an athlete, it's still structured to it. You still got a set schedule, still got practice. You got to study, keep your grades up to be able to play on the team, and just make sure you go into class because your attendance is a big thing depending on who your professor is. So the transition for me I wasn't say it was the easiest, but it was quite because I was already used to being disciplined itself, So the transition wasn't that bad, and I also knew a lot of people that I went to college with. I knew them from high school, so it was kind of I had the same roommate, like you said, Rashad. He was my roommate, and a lot of people from the Low Country went to Newberry as well. So it was kind of easy to adapt to the other freshmen and live life on campus my freshman year. It was pretty cool.
Well, that's the more personal transition. Talk about the athletic transition because you got seniors. They're 21 years old. You're coming in as a 18, 19-year-old high school freshman. Talk about that and some of those and how that transition was either different or the same.
Okay, that was the biggest challenge for me. Because I went from playing quarterback to a position that don't really get hit too much to playing receiver. when you got to block and it's a little bit more physical.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't the best at catching my freshman year. Like I was just dropping passes. I wasn't comfortable. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause that was a position I really wasn't playing too often. So I just remember that my first hit in college, and I forgot who it was on the team. I was like, welcome to college football. Like that was my first big hit. And I was like, damn. I said, damn, I gotta get bigger. Like I gotta get stronger. Like, you know what I'm saying? I got this off season. I was gonna get better. So my off season from my freshman year to the sophomore year was a big change. I got in the weight room, started working on my catching, because with me, if I lack something, I'm gonna try my best to to improve in it, because I want to try to be the best person I could be on the field. So that freshman year was a shock, man. Like I said, from dropping a lot of passes to being like skinny, because I was still little, and I was probably like 190 at that time. So, I was still kind of like undersized, and I was still like growing into my body. So
right.
Yeah.
And I saw you the other day. Jesus Christ, you like what, 250 right now?
I like probably like 235, 240.
Jesus Lord, you big boy,
Yeah.
you look good.
Yeah.
Talk about the transition from academics. How was that? Again, I know you was disciplined before, make good grades, but there still is a different. There's a lot of distractions. How was that transition academically?
Academically, it was quite a challenge as well. Just because, like I said earlier, like your discipline has to come in place, because some professors, they don't even take attendance. So for you to even show up, you know what I'm saying, when teachers not even taking attendance is a big thing. Just the way they test and everything is a lot kind of a different, just depending on like what classes you took in high school. And I was a nursing major, so that was a big challenge in itself, just going into the nursing program, still playing football. It was a lot on my plate, even though I didn't, complete the whole program. I think my senior year, I didn't pass one of the classes, but it was just still a challenge, because I had to wake up, on Tuesdays and Thursdays at like 5 a.m. to go to the hospital in Lexington, at 6:15 to go do the clinicals and whatnot. So then after that, you got practice. So, you know, when you transition from high school to college, man, you just really gotta be disciplined. Because if you lack discipline, it's gonna be really rough for you to adapt to that culture.
And people need to hear that, because everybody just thinking, oh, I get a scholarship, I won a scholarship, like it's so easy, right?
Yeah, no.
Like it's like anybody can do it, right?
Anybody can do it. And like the thing about the college level, like that thing, your scholarship is like it's like a contract. It's like a year-to-year contract. Like they can take it away. Like I've seen some of my peers and whatnot got their scholarship taken away because they just wasn't producing on the field or academically. So that's a year-to-year contract, man. Like you can get that thing taken away.
Exactly. Your college coaches, in life, we try to take something from everybody that we come in contact with. Name me two things that you got from your college coach, and how do you apply that to your everyday life?
Two things that I got from my college coaches.
Yeah.
For one, I would just say, put your best effort into everything you do. Everyone is different, and as long as you put your best effort into everything you do, you're not slacking yourself, or you're not letting yourself down. You know your own self, so when you slack into some levels or where you need to get better. So each and every day, you should wake up and your goal should just try to be to put the best effort into whatever you're doing. And the next thing I would say is just staying consistent. Consistency will keep you motivated when things get rough. Just staying consistent in whatever you're doing. Maybe it's like probably posting content. Maybe your first couple of videos or whatnot may not get that much likes, but if you continue to post, you never know, one video might blow up. So just putting your best effort in everything you're doing and just staying consistent in wherever you're doing is kind of the things that I took from my college coaches.
For sure. And in high school, you say your senior year was your best year, so that was kind of the pivot turn, right? So here we go again.
Yeah.
Ninth grade, getting introduced from middle school to high school. Then your ninth grade, you kind of figured out. By your 10th grade, you still kind of figured out. Then by your summer year, junior year, it kind of hit home, and then boom, your senior year, it was the best year. So every year comes from the work that goes into your upcoming year. What was your pivotal career turn in college? When was that? When you kind of like figured out and like you said, you had to really wake up and make it happen?
That was my pivotal year. Was the first year I actually started at tight end because I went from quarterback to receiver. I just gone to college, then from receiver to tight end. I just remember my college. One of my college coaches approaching me was like, "Hey, one of all our tight ends are leaving. Because by that time when I was a receiver, I think we had all seniors at tight ends. He's like, I think this would be probably the best, decision or best move for you to move to tight end." And at first, I was like, "Dang, I'm gonna have to block like tight end, like defensive ends," because at that time I was still like probably like 210. I wasn't the big. I was like 215. So I had to, work even harder to get that muscle compacted on me and, to take it to the next level. And my first year at tight end was probably my best year because that's when the year we won, the sack championship. I got the all conference award.
Nice.
And I really excelled at that.
Nice.
So.
Nice. The most important message to get across to student athletes suffering from mental health issues is that you're not alone. Many student athletes deal with depression, anxiety, eating disorders, and other mental health struggles. If this is the case, speak to someone like a counselor, a parent, a trusted adult, or your fellow teammate. Adults who are supporting a student athlete should be aware of the signs. A student athlete who is experiencing mental health difficulties might have constant fatigue, loss of appetite, mood swings, apathy, or even declining grades and/or social isolation. A student athlete's mental health can be severely affected by an injury. An athlete's entire life becomes about their sport. And when they lose the ability to play, it can take a huge toll mentally. As we continue to reduce the stigma around mental health, hopefully more middle and high school level student athletes will feel confident discussing their health, whether it be mental or physical. The Triple Threat podcast will be adding a psychology aspect in season 2. We will be doing our part to help destigmatize mental health when it comes to student athletes. So subscribe on your favorite podcast listening platform so you never miss an episode. Now let's get back to the interview. I want you to tell the audience, right quick, because we're not, none of us is perfect, right? But in order to be in the college atmosphere around other kids, that's distractions, not doing what they got to do. Everybody's going, hey, Bat, let's go out. Let's do this. Let's go to this party. Let's go bowling. And to be focused and disciplined, that comes natural, come from a home, and we apply it, but it's still something different there to help you make the decision. And that's what I'm trying to find out from all the players. Like, what is that one thing that make you say, no, I got to go and do it? For me, it was always my parents, right? It was always if I do this and something happened, how would I look? How would I make my parents feel? That made me make my decision because, like, I'm human. I got those are good distractions to me, but I had to make a sound decision. What was that for you?
And something similar to yours. I didn't want to let my parents down because you see all the sacrifices and everything they do to get you to that point where you're at, and you don't want to do the most stupid thing to let them down. Now they can't see you play on Saturday. Let's say you get suspended for some reason. Now they making a trip for no reason. You done wasted everyone's time. And also, like, I always had that mindset. I wanted to go to the league, and I didn't want to do anything to jeopardize my chances of making it to the league.
Right. And so let's transition. That's a good segue into my next question. Everybody, I wanted to make it to the NBA. Everybody wanted to make it to the next level. What were some of the things that you were doing in order to prepare for that? Did you have an agent? Was someone talking to you?
Yeah.
take us back to some of those conversations or stories about that.
Yeah, so that story was, it's a pretty crazy story. So after my senior year, well, during my senior year, we had the Cardinals come to our practice. There was some talks about they were looking at me and a couple of other people on the team, and we didn't have the best senior season, so we didn't get as much eyes or attention like we did the year before when we won the championship. But um, you know, at that time, after my senior season, it was kind of like, damn. I was like, all right, what's next? I said, well, I got to start preparing myself for the league. And sorry, hold on. But you can see me?
Yeah, you good.
Okay, yeah. But I didn't really. I wish I would have had an agent early on. Now I'm just thinking on retrospect of things because I remember like I was still training and I was training for what you call it, the combine or whatnot at Charleston Southern because at our college they wasn't throwing one for some reason. So I was training to go to Charleston Southern, doing whatever I need to do. Charleston Southern, they canceled theirs and they sent all their players to Coastal. And by the time I found out, it was kind of like a little bit too late. So, I didn't really have a pro day. That's what they call it, a pro day.
Right.
So I didn't really have any numbers. So I remember the day of the draft, it was like April 18th. It was like a day after my birthday or whatnot. The Cardinal scout, he texted me from a random number. Like, hey, he was just like, do you have an agent? And what's your numbers? And at that time, I didn't really have an agent. But I didn't have any numbers either. So I kind of told him the story and I didn't hear from him anymore. So I kind of text one of the agents I was talking to, like, hey, I said, I heard the Cardinal scout, they text me looking for an agent, and I didn't hear anything from that agent either. So that's the biggest thing, man. If I would have had an agent probably early on, they probably would have found a way to get me into, a pro day.
Or tryout.
Yeah, something. And I believe by my heart, if I would have had at least some numbers, I probably got invited to like a mini camp or something, but things didn't go my way, but
and
everything happens for a reason.
Tell them what you would have done once they see it. That's 5 frame and see you run the ball. I mean, this anything can happen at that point. Well, what do you tell the players that's in college right now? One of the I won't say call them a mistake, but one of the things that we just didn't have knowledge of. What would you tell them that they need to do to kind of fill that void so they don't fall in that same situation?
Make sure they have all their ducks in a row. Like I know after I graduated, man, it was like I went back home, didn't really know what I was going to do. So just make sure, like during your senior season or like before your senior season, make sure you have a plan ahead, like what you want to do next. Because if the sports don't work out, make sure you have a plan B. Like, okay, I'm gonna go home. I got this degree. I'm gonna do this, that, and that. Don't wait till like the last minute to like, when you graduate, start scrambling and start doing job and you should start interviewing like that April or that March, to different jobs, letting them know like, hey, I'm graduating in May with this degree. I'm just interviewing early just to make sure I have a job secured or whatnot. And as far as like the athlete side of things, just make sure, if you think you're that guy, you can make it to the next level. Make sure you just have your content and just try to send it to get an agent or whatnot because times are different now than versus when I was in college or high school. Like it's a lot more social media access that that can really help you out during these times. So I would say just make sure you got that content ready and just have a plan B or C for after you graduate if you don't, plan on making it to the league or, that's not in your dreams or whatnot.
And I'm gonna take this time, Baptiste, just to throw in a plug on what we're doing from the DAE Foundation. We're actually working on a resource center for student athletes. Entrepreneurs can go to a business center and get help. Student athletes will be able to come to my resource center and get information because it's the same information no matter what year, what athlete, what sport. It's the same situation all around the board. So how do we as a community help these athletes that's in these situations? Perfect situation like you, great athlete, consistent, be on time, great grade, but didn't have a representation. Not because nobody didn't want to represent you, just because you didn't know.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the main thing that's happening to athletes, just of the knowledge of not knowing where to not knowing what to do, how to do, and just how to get there. And that's a huge problem that's going on in our community right now.
Yeah, you need that representation, man, because they're the ones that have the connections. You don't know who they know, who they may know, what coach they know. So you need a representative on your behalf to help you out.
For
And
sure.
like I said, on retrospect, just thinking, looking back on things, if I would have had one early on, I probably could have been in a different position. But
For
everything
sure.
happens for a reason. So
And I felt I'm gonna say this before I ask you this. My senior year coming out of college, I was riding a bicycle for 4 or 5 months, right?
yeah,
Because again, I didn't have an agent. I didn't know what to do. I was scrambling until I started a business and figure it out.
yeah,
How how did you feel, and what were your thought process your senior year?
yeah,
No agent, the kind of lead kind of is dwindling away. You got a degree. Again, we're still in a
yeah.
situation. What do I do?
Yeah, it was just like I was kind of like I had some animosity towards my college, but
Yeah.
I was like, well, damn, y'all not helping me out. We don't have a pro day. Like, what's going on? Like, I
The thing
overcame
is, as you
that,
know,
but
Bap, is not their responsibility. As you
yeah,
as you know now, it's not their
yeah,
responsibility.
and after like after some years, I was like, all right, it's not really everything. Is on me because I should have had my things aligned and in order. So just looking back on things, man, it's just like you said, like you think like, oh, I'm good on the field. Like you hear people saying, like, man, you supposed to make it to the next to the league, and you sitting there like, dang, like I'm still trying to figure out like what's next. And I'm
Right.
going to I went to like a CFL tryout. Didn't really do well because it was like raining and all that stuff. So I was like, wow, like I knew I could play in the league,
For
so I
sure.
just didn't have the resources at the time to help me.
For sure.
So
For sure. So transition into that, Bap, what tell the audience, after a couple of years of figuring out and scrambling, what's in the afterlife, what's your approach and what are you doing now with the discipline, the degree, and all the knowledge
yeah.
that you obtain over the years?
It took me a few years to figure that out after, like you said, after college, because you're still trying to figure out exactly what you want to do. That's why me and my roommate from college, we went to Charlotte to trying to figure it out. I eventually, got my real estate license in both South Carolina and North Carolina, and kind of the same approach that I had, from playing sports just all my life. I try to take into account now, just for one, the discipline,
Mm-hmm.
just being able to communicate with others, being a team player, and just when you're running your own business, you kind of be like self motivated as well.
Mm.
So what I'm saying there's still challenges, that I have to overcome, within my business, but you know, because you really don't have anyone over your head
Right.
telling you what to do, so that has to come, within yourself. And I'm still looking at ways I can, better improve my business, and there's still things in my situation I can better myself, but yeah,
And
that's
you
the main.
said a good point about, you know, being a business owner, and you still it kind of compares to being a student athlete because
Yeah,
again we talked about earlier, your parents are not there, so you got to wake up, you got to be motivated, you got to be on time to class. When you in
yeah,
business, you got to be on time to meetings, you got to be creative.
yeah,
No one's there to push you. So the same kind of approach as a student athlete is the same kind of approach when it comes to afterlife, especially running a business. And that's so
yeah,
important. I think sports
yeah,
help you prepare for situations like this.
yeah. It's not easy. You need the support, and I'm not saying I know it all. I'm still trying to figure it out myself, but each and every day you just grow, you get better, you learn, and you just approve each and every day. And there's always something you can work on.
For
You know what
sure.
I'm saying? No one's perfect, so you learn, you make mistakes, you learn from it, and you continue to grow.
For sure. Looking back right now, and you see that young Bap, say young Bap in eighth grade right now,
Yeah,
that young Bap in eighth grade right now, but you're not, but it's a different kid in the community. What would
yeah.
your what would your message be to that young Bap in eighth grade right now?
My message would be to, you know, really put your all in everything you do it to 100%. You know, sometimes I felt like I could have gave a little bit more than I did. I remember you kept telling me you gotta bring that dog out you. You know what I'm saying? You gotta find something within yourself, to get better. And I feel like in some ways and aspects I could have given a little bit more effort or a little bit push a little bit more, train a little bit
But
harder.
hold on, but hold
You
on
know,
though, but hold on. Let's talk about that because
Yeah.
You're 15, 16, or 14, 15 years old, and
Yeah.
that haven't, and you don't know that needs to be done.
Yeah.
How could you do that? And that's why these conversations are so important. So, like you
Yeah.
just said, finding that way, because kids like you, we were telling you that you had to do it, right?
Yeah.
That the benefits of you being more mean and more aggressive would add to more production, but we didn't tell you how to do it. You know what I'm saying? And that's the one thing that we're trying to get to the audience and the kids of how do you focus, and what do you got to turn on to make this thing happen? Like how does that happen? And I think it comes from the support system, right? Of being in a collective group where there are other athletes talking about the same problems and continuously, consistently moving to that goal. And that's not, we don't have that yet.
Yeah. We just gotta, like, we gotta just tell the youth, like, you gotta think only a few people make it, man. Like, there's only a slim people that make it to the league or to the collegiate level in itself. So you gotta figure out, like, how are you gonna separate what's gonna make you different from everybody else. Because when you go to the college level, everyone in college was good athletes or may have been half good or whatnot. But when you go to that NFL level, everybody been all conference, everyone did all state, everyone did all that. So, like, what's gonna make you even more different? You gotta outwork everybody. That's gonna make you different. You just gotta outwork everyone.
And you made a point earlier about, I want you to finish this statement for me. The game is 90% what?
It's 90% mental.
That's all day, every day, right? Yeah. So we got this whole terminology that's in our society right now about mental illness or mental toughness or whatever you call it. Mental illness, mental toughness. So back in the days, again, I was telling you, hey, Bap, gotta bring that dog out. You gotta do this, you gotta do that. And what I'm learning now is when you're trying to get a kid to that next level, it's more environmental. My question to you is that, not saying you wasn't in the hood or I wasn't in the hood, but kids in the hood, or maybe a hood environment where they got to fight for pieces of bread or fight for the extra meat, right? That dog's gonna come at them through sports. So do you think the environment of a kid's lack of aggression or more of aggression comes from their homes?
That's a question I was thinking upon too. I would say, I think it has to be within you. I don't think the environment plays a big impact in it. It definitely helps. But, I've seen some athletes that's in the NFL, they still had great parents, great background, and they still got the dog in them. I don't know, where they found it. I think that's just within you. Your environment plays a part in it, but at the end of the day, it just comes from your inner will, I should say.
That's interesting. That's interesting, because if people can find that, that'll change their scope of everything. And little kids, I see it from the 8, 9. They're real tentative. They don't want to hurt nobody about it or hurt nobody with it, right? Because it's really a fine line how you want to do it. So it's borderline fighting.
Yeah.
If you really want to, you really want to think about it, it's borderline fighting, and I think that's a skill in itself that have to be learned and obtained when it comes to young athletes having that dog in it.
Yeah, it's that Mamba mentality.
For sure.
Yeah.
What are some lessons you learned through sports that you think that's going to help you, through life, and especially in your business?
One great lesson I learned is just being able to work and communicate with others. Playing a team sport all your life, there's a different races, different cultures, just different people. So you get along with everyone. And I feel like that helped me out, a lot, especially in my professional business. I'm able to get along with anyone. I'm able to talk with anyone, and just be able to show, that I can communicate and just be around anyone. So
for sure,
that was one of the big lessons I learned, just being able to work or, be on a team with everyone from different backgrounds, different cultures, and everything.
He made a name for himself as a star for the College of Charleston basketball teams in the mid to late 90s. And now, Jermel President is doing what he can to make sure that the Charleston area kids have a chance to succeed on the court and in life.
So I want to give some of that back to the community as well. After college and after playing professionally, I started the DAE Foundation just to be that wealth of knowledge to the kids in the community and parents as well.
College of Charleston Hall of Famer Jermel President said he saw a need for this while he was in school. So he founded the nonprofit DAE Foundation, and his philosophy for success is based on what he calls his oatmeal recipe.
Let's go and finish together.
Basically teaches the game of basketball, focusing on skills development, nutrition, and education. Not only SAT, ACT type stuff, but education for parents in how to navigate through the different levels of athletics.
In closing, back, we do something which you're familiar with. It's called the oatmeal recipe. And the oatmeal recipe is skill development, nutrition, and education. So I want to call each one of those terminology out, and I want you to get your response on them. From the skill development part of it, yes, we know you were training with me and you were doing the travel ball, but in my lessons, in my training, I do a lot of self-contained drills where you got to make certain amount of drills of shots and do it in a certain amount of time, right? So there's concentration and you're doing it at game speed. And skill development, not from a sport, is important, for the skill development in life is just as important. And we can take those skill development we learn in sports and apply them to real life. What is one skill that you think that's been very effective for you that you learned through sports that you apply it right now?
One of the greatest, I guess, just your mental toughness, just being able to, get up when you're down, because this thing of life is full of ups and downs. Not every day is going to be the best day. Not every day is going to be the worst day, but you just got to take one day at a time and just be able to overcome, anything, any adversity you may be going through. That's why I think my relationship with, Jesus Christ, that I'm able to just, pray and call upon him when things get rough, because everyone goes through things in life. Like I said, it's ups and downs. So just being able to have that mental toughness or that mental support, I should say, kind of really helped me, especially in these times, because you don't have your parents to piggyback on, every day, or, you got them to help you if you need anything, but at the same time, you still got to go through your own trials and tribulations. So, just mental toughness, man.
All right, the next one is nutrition. And back when we traveled, we ate that kicking chicken. You know what I mean? We had our pregame meal. We had it wasn't no pork and fried food. It wasn't no sodas and Skittles, because that's very important. How was that information important to you as far as nutrition? And how is it important in college as well? So
in college, it's very important because your body, you got to think, someone said, you got to think your body as a car. Like you a Ferrari. You can't put regular gas in a Ferrari. You got to put premium fuel in it. So you got to make sure you're eating right, especially during camp. You can't be eating fried chicken, sodas. You're going to go out there and cramp up. You're going to pass out. You got to make sure you're eating your greens, your fruits, your oatmeal or whatnot. And even now, at one point I started looking at myself, damn, I'm getting fat. So I got to eat right. You know what I'm saying? I got to get back right. So I just had to, get back on the diet. And that just helps with your discipline as well. Because, you got to eat right. And it's all about your mind, body, and spirit. So as long as you eat right, that's going to help you physically and mentally. It's going to clear things up. When you eat that fried food and everything, it makes you lazy, sluggish, all that. So nutrition is very important, man.
All right, last one is education. Again, we talked about you always been disciplined, always focused, but it's a difference when reading the book and taking a test versus applying what you know to the real world. How's that been beneficial to you as far as taking what you've learned over the years in school and college and now being in business, especially in a different area? How does those things you learned transition into you being successful now?
It's a big transition because you got to know, like you said, you just can't just read something and just comprehend it. You got to be able to apply it as well. So you just got to take what you learned from over your years of high school or college and be able to apply it to your business now, whether it's setting up an email, simple as that. A lot of people probably don't know how to properly, email someone, or if it's to mail someone, or just being on time. Communication is big. because in business you got to know how to communicate not only with your counterparts but with your consumers as well. So it's a lot of stuff that you learn from college or from high school that you can apply not only to your own business but to work, whether it's like showing up on time, doing your job to the best of your ability, just trying to outwork everyone, and just showing up. You know what I'm saying? You can't call out every day. You're going to someone, so just showing up to work and things like that could definitely help you out from what you learned growing up to now.
For sure. Well, Bap, that concludes our interview, man. I just want to say, always proud of you. Been proud of you, seeing the man you turn out to be, and I appreciate you, giving your time to DAE Foundation and being successful. That means a lot to us, and just to see, the progress, you've made in becoming a young man yourself. That's truly awesome.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you, Jermel. You helped me just take my basketball game, just to another level. Just whether it just helped me like mentally, physically, just letting me know, giving me the more confidence within myself. Like, boy, you're the best athlete out here. Like you a dog. Like, you know what I'm saying? That really helped me, take it to the next level. And I was able to apply that to college level, and it helped me out a lot, man.
For sure. I'll be back. We see you soon, man. I appreciate your time. We'll get that work.
All right, Jermel. Peace. Be easy, man.
All right. Yes, sir. So there it goes, guys. Another one in the books. I want to thank Big Bap for coming on and giving us his wealth of knowledge on how to be a student athlete from the middle school to the high school and being successful in college. He talked about having a support system that was huge for him. All right, and athletes need to understand that their support system is one of the main things that's going to get them to the next level and through the next level. All right, so again, we thank Big Bat for coming on. Be right back. Don't forget to subscribe to the Triple Threat Podcast on your favorite listening platform. We are live on Apple, Google, Spotify, or anywhere else you listen to your podcast. That's Triple Threat spelled 3 R-I-P-L-E 3 H-R-E-A-T. Triple Threat Podcast. We'll be right back.
What Jermel is doing with the DAE Foundation and the approach he's taking to help develop young athletes, first of all, getting them prepared from the academic standpoint, which, as you know as well as I do, Bobby, that's the most important element, to try to get them to eat healthy, to be able to train properly, to get the proper education, and then hopefully for those who are talented enough to have a chance to move on to perhaps even get a free education by going off to college. But I love what Jermel is doing. It's a wonderful program. Hopefully more people in the community will get behind it, and some of the businesses involved as well, to help sponsor this program, because these are the kind of things that every community needs, looking out for the best interest of the youth. The future of this country is in our youth, and everything that we can do to help prepare them better for that is absolutely wonderful. And I can't express adequately enough my admiration and respect for what Jermel is doing, and hopefully he'll get a lot of help from a lot of people.
You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Jermel President, and on Twitter at President Jermel. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast, as I'll be bringing you a new interview every month.